Due to new DNA evidence, a man who was just hours away from being executed was issued a stay of execution. Now there will be a board looking into the matter to decide whether or not he will be exonerated or if he is still found guilty of a murder that took place in the late 1990s. Now the DNA on the murder weapon did not match Marcellus Williams's DNA, okay? So instead it was found to belong to an unknown male. So let me give you some background on the crime that occurred. So back in 1999, there was a reporter that was stabbed to death in her own home, and prosecutors alleged that Marcellus Williams was burglarizing her home, and then when she appeared, he retaliated by stabbing her to death. Now he was convicted, but again, the new DNA evidence indicates that the DNA on that knife does not match his DNA. It matches the DNA of an unidentified man, right? Now the governor decided, I'm gonna go ahead and do a stay until we can really look into this matter because we don't wanna execute the wrong person. So here's what the governor said. A sentence of death is the ultimate permanent punishment. To carry out the death penalty, the people of Missouri must have confidence in the judgment of guilt. But the attorney general in the state is saying, no, this guy is guilty. I mean, the DNA evidence might indicate one thing, but maybe some other guy had handled the knife before. Maybe Marcellus was wearing a glove when he was handling the weapon, and they say that they have other evidence that indicates that he's guilty. But the important thing is we need to have an investigation into the matter and be absolutely certain before carrying out this form of punishment.
Okay, so understand that they did not cancel the execution. They just delayed the execution to get more evidence. It's better that they delayed it, of course. Look, I think there's some chance the prosecutor's right. Because when you look at the other evidence, 2 witnesses say that Williams confessed to them. Now that happens all the time. Sometimes they do it to get a better bargain for themselves, to serve less prison time. Who knows? I don't know who those witnesses are. I have no idea if they're in prison or anything along those lines. And he did, according to the evidence, he sold Felicia Gayle's laptop right after her death. That's pretty good evidence. And is it possible that it was a kitchen knife that other people used that were in her house and he was wearing gloves? Yeah, of course it's possible. Should we execute him? Hell no, are you crazy? Like if you're not, first, that's the whole problem with the death penalty. We can never be certain, and we're way, way away from certain in this case. Come on guys, even if you're for the death penalty, I used to be for the death penalty, but this is why I switched my mind. Because it turns out there were dozens of people on death row that didn't do it. Not like this case, like clearly didn't do it. It was, they found out later that it was somebody else's DNA. They go to the guy, he confesses to the murder. They got the wrong guy, dozens of them. We were gonna execute them. We were gonna kill them. We were gonna murder them when they were innocent. So in a case like this, I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. I do know I don't want to execute him because I don't want to go, later, you know what? It turns out he didn't wear a glove. It really was the other guy. Oops. No, that's not a thing you can go oops about.
Right, and look, you also have to keep in mind what the burden of proof is when you are charging and convicting someone of murder. The burden of proof is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And so I think it is important for them to open this investigation and take a look at all of the evidence and kind of determine whether or not the evidence indicates that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the bare minimum we haven't done yet. So whose DNA was it on the knife? If it turns out it's somebody that used to come over to her house all the time, her dad or whatever, okay, that doesn't prove anything. If it turns out it's some other guy who was a serial killer, that proves a lot, right? So let's find out whose DNA it was. And we're not talking about relitigating the case itself, which there should be an argument over, especially if we find out whose DNA is on the knife. We're just talking about should you kill the guy or should you not kill the guy?
Right.
Don't execute this guy, that's nuts. And the final argument against it is what Ben Mankiewicz says all the time. It's like, this woman was stabbed 43 times. If he in fact did do it, don't create any sympathy for him. And what it does is it makes people go, no, don't kill him. And if he did it, none of us should have any sympathy for him. We should lock him away for life and never let him out. And Jesus, I mean, that's whoever did it butchered that poor woman to death, right? we want justice, but we don't want injustice. It's not that complicated. If you like the Young Turks, you'll love Young Turks membership. tytnetwork.com/join.